So if you can hear me, if you can see me, that must mean it's another week of Our Opinion Podcast. So I'm voice 1.
And I'm voice 3.
And voice 2 is on vacation. Summer vacation.
Okay.
We got a guest. We'll get to that in a minute. Don't worry about it. Very, very, very special person to me. First of all, let's take care of the politics of the day. Shout out to our sponsor, Autumn Fresh Cleaning Services, LLC, where cleaning has a feel to it. For your residential needs, for you throw a party and you ain't supposed to, but you need a quick cleanup, holler at them. Residential, commercial, garage. Even if you just feel like being lazy on a barbecue, you don't want to clean up after having 17 people over, holler at me. We do those too. Yeah. Also, shout out to I Believe. I Believe is a lifestyle brand for anyone who believes in something greater than themselves.
I think he would be proud.
Yeah.
I think he would be proud.
So shout out to our sponsors, man. We thank you. We can't do what we do without y'all doing what y'all do. So
yes, thank you.
So if you know me, you know I got a gotta say it. What's a gotta say it? When something has to be said, I gotta say it. So here it is. I have 2.
What do you have to say today?
Crackheads have the sweetest jackets. I seen a crackhead today. He had the sweetest Leatherman on. I said, where did this nigga get this jacket from?
I'm pretty sure it was donated.
Listen, I've seen a lot of crackheads, East and West. They have phenomenal jackets.
No, I feel you, especially because people be putting the stuff in those boxes, and 9 times out of 10.
No, this nigga had a Lions Leatherman. I wanted to rob him.
Not rob him.
He like, can you buy me a burger? Can I get the coat?
Right, okay, like, we got the coat. Okay, barter system here, sir.
Jesus. My second one goes out to all the fast food restaurants. We appreciate y'all. Sometimes when I want to cheat on my working out and my eating good, I want to get a nice Big Mac. And I like to see these young black people that they hire. You guys cannot just have casual dialogue with customers online. I was at McDonald's today door dashing. I mean, they in the back. This bitch and mother. I'm saying, whoa.
Like, I can hear you, right?
Sir. I'm trying to pick up a DoorDash number. It's 543. Like, what's going on? Y'all got to have some type of...
back there.
Yeah, it's a corporate business. I just want to throw that out there. We got to do better.
Between that and attitude, you just be like...
Yeah, you'd be like, you filled that 30-minute application out and drove 27 minutes here on E. I didn't. I want a number 1. Okay. I need ice in my drink, brother.
And I would like it politely,
ma'am,
please.
sir. Thank you. All right. Man, we have a very, very, very special guest.
Yes,
personally, very dear to my heart. My bestest friend in the whole wide world. We share a kid together. She's my son's godmother. So we share a kid together.
I'm about to say something.
We do.
Let me carry the one on that one.
I'm about to say.
We share a kid
clarify
together.
that real quick. You be like,
That's why I got you so fast. Like, we share a kid together. And then, boom. I didn't say we share a kid together. Oh, okay. I got to it real fast.
Exactly.
My best friend, Rachel. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
We are so glad to have you. How you feel?
I feel great. My allergies are on 1,000. It's an amazing feeling.
Man, shout out to people that got allergies, man. Like, especially seasonal allergies.
Yeah.
There's a difference, right?
No, there is.
Yeah, those seasonal allergies. They like. I done seen a lady at work yesterday. She was at work, and I'm like, "You okay?" I thought somebody died. I mean, her face was swollen.
Yeah.
She was red.
I'm thankful I don't have it that bad.
It's right here. It's that pressure. And I don't know how much more nasal spray and Claritin I can take at this point.
Have you tried Mucinex? That doesn't do anything. See, Claritin doesn't do anything for me.
Got you.
Nothing actually, honestly, works for me. So
I
just have to ride it out.
I'm gonna pay attention to.
I was asking her. I didn't know.
No,
I don't have allergies.
That actually alcohol increases it. So it's like at some point you just like whatever. It's okay. Whatever.
Okay.
No, I was outside. I was outside on Monday and I was outside a little bit today.
Oh,
and so,
hot girl summer.
Yeah. Girl, it's kind of like warm, but So
I'm retired, but I ain't done playing yet. I get it.
So this is my own fault, but you gotta enjoy the outdoors. Yeah. So anyway, but thank you for having me.
Thank you for pressing through.
Yes, absolutely.
Pressing your way.
Hallelujah.
Hey man, listen. So today we kind of want to. I like to believe that our listeners and our followers know that we know Jesus and we saved. I like to believe that.
I believe they know.
If they don't, it's probably because
question it sometimes.
Probably because of me.
But I think we do let it be known out in the open that
probably because
we do know the Lord, and
So today we just wanted to get in my best friend's business, who is a PK.
On the porch. We ain't all the way in the house. We just gonna be,
I mean, I'll leave the front door open, but the screen door may be a little locked.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You gotta knock before you enter. Nothing.
So I'll put lemonade on the porch for you.
Look at that. Refreshments while you wait.
It's a weird question, right? And I'll explain it if you need me to.
Wait, before you do that, do we know what a PK is? Everybody know.
I'm going into that. I got you.
Okay, got you.
So I gotta. That goes into my question, but that's my best friend, y'all. She really voiced 4.5. You know what I'm saying? She don't know it. So I'll do that first before I was gonna do a second. So a PK. Where my angle at, P? Right here.
See, if you were sitting in your regular seat, you would know where your angle was already.
I just want to talk to I want to talk to the unsaved people, the people that don't know nothing. PK just mean like a preacher's kid or a pastor's kid. The child is a child, but they parent do something in the pulpit. That's what the PK mean. Yeah, you got it? Okay, cool. Got you. So here's a weird question. I'll explain it if I need to. Did you know, because I believe there's like a certain expectation and a stigma on the name. Did you know that you were a PK? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like, was it one of them things where it was like, I'm just a kid and my dad so happened to be the pastor. Like, why y'all sweating me so hard? Or was it like okay, I know all eyes are on me and I gotta that makes sense?
Oh, I was well aware.
Okay.
Yep.
He said
well aware.
Exactly. Really?
Yes.
He said
as soon as what? Like 5, 6?
Yeah.
So how long has your dad been a pastor?
My entire life.
Okay.
Yes. He actually took over the pastoral role.
Carried it to.
Right. Okay. Was it like 2 months before my oldest sister was born?
Okay.
And
now there's how many of you guys?
There's 8. Yep. There's 8 of us.
Okay.
There's 8 of us. Technically 9, but the oldest didn't make it. And so,
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, I would have had an older brother.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. But, there's 8 of us, and we all grew up in church and still in church, actively in church. So, but I've known my whole life. It's been something that was made very apparent.
As soon as you were conscious of everything, now you got to remember.
But by the people, though. So when I say, I want to be clear for listeners and people that's watching. When I say people, I mean the church. I ain't talking about I mean people too, but we talking about people that grew up in church whole lives. I'm talking about the church. Was it you were made known by the people or by your parents?
Or your parents.
Both. And so when it came down to like pastoral appreciations or missionary service and then dinner before, because we used to have 17 service on Sunday. So it was especially like back in the day, baby. Okay.
I don't want to be that saved no more.
Okay. No, never.
God, I gave service. God from 11 to 1. I gave you my absolute best, Lord. I'm going home to take a nap, sir.
Baby, you talking about all
I'm gonna leave that between you and the Lord.
I gave you my best, God.
All day long used to be in that boy.
But yeah, so it wasn't necessarily in a negative light, but it was just, they say, oh, this is the pastor's table and this, that, and the other. So
family eats first, and this is
being able to go to like this part, the office area, because we were the family. So things of
those
that
are perks.
So not necessarily.
It's a great benefit package.
Yeah. So.
Parking my dad's spot. He's not coming today. So
yeah. Well, mind you, now this is under 18. This is like definitely as a kid, as a child, as a teen. Right. So yeah, and then it was also apparent where even being like in children's church, growing up, and it's like, well, you got to behave like this, and your dad and your mom don't want you to do this, that, and the other. And so,
I was going to say, there was a different type of expectation put on you all because of the status that your parent.
Were there, and again, some of these questions are like literally for me, like I'm ignorant to me, I'm outside looking in. A PK, it's almost like being a celebrity in the sense of how it's magnified and how you guys are viewed, and it's also unfortunate too. Mm-hmm. But were there ever like pep talks at home, like, okay, let me sit you guys down. Listen, y'all represent me. This, that, and the third. Walk like this, look like this, act, that type of thing.
So yes and no. So if for those who know my dad, and he's very planted on the word. the word of God in the Bible.
I agree with that.
And so it wasn't necessary. More often than not, the conversation stemmed around, this is the expectation of the believer.
If
you're
More
living
so
saved, if you're trying to be saved, this is the expectation. Now, were there parental conversations? Absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying, right? I would say for me and my recollection, as I was older, it was kind of more of the tailored conversation with you're representing the family and the church and that sort of thing. But he is a flat-footed, Bible believing, love the Lord, and so seeing that example, so seeing that example is what kind of, even when it wasn't verbally expressed, set the expectation.
I got you.
And then also, we grew up in an organization. So we were part of a denomination and we grew up in an organization. And so in that, when you are around other PKs, other pastors, you come together for your quarterly or yearly convocation, convention, revival, whatever other words they want to call it. So, of course, there's that conversation of a different group of people looking at the PKs and other PKs who weren't as well behaved.
Okay. Yeah.
And
who lived a little more on the edge.
So I'm gonna dive into
they
that.
weren't put into a box. They kind of lived outside that box.
Yeah.
So
and for me,
I'm gonna come to their defense in a minute too, though.
Yeah. And for me, I guess I was always, I think just in general, my perspective is that you always represent your brand, whatever that is, no matter what. And so for me, that happens to include my parents, my church, things of that nature. And so we've had countless conversations, and B will tell you, there's even times where I'll go places and I'm like, no, or maybe I don't feel as comfortable, just because that's my brand. What do I associate myself with? So as I became an adult, it became a little more personal. Like,
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? It's for me.
But would you say,
I
though,
don't want to be seen in certain places or in a certain
because
light.
By association, that can
guilt,
ruin your,
But go ahead.
And even no different than the company I work for, which that will remain anonymous at the moment. It may slip out later. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. But there are things that, I work for a financial institution, a large financial institution. So there are still things that as an individual person, I got to, in a sense, I can't post. Got to be mindful. So I guess, again, not to be redundant, but as an adult, it became a different representation of what I do, how people view me. But yes, there's always going to be that stigma of the PK in the church, what they're doing, how they're doing it. Yeah. And in all actuality, and I know we'll probably jump into this later, you got to tap me if I'm talking too much.
I got you.
Oh, no, you're going. You're going.
But in all actuality, really that responsibility is let go of the parent because once I move out, or even once I'm a legal adult, or move out, I mean, as much as you want to say, how can the bishop this because the daughter, but the daughter is a whole grown woman.
So let me catch you here then. So this drives me to my next point though. It's a combination of a question and a statement, all of that, right? So do you think that? Because I believe that one would have to first of all, you gotta accept the fact and become a believer before you accept any of this lifestyle and all that protecting it. If I ain't a believer, I don't care nothing about this anyways. You know what I'm saying? Then also, do you think because that you're a believer, you accepted Christ, right? So you accept, okay, I'm a PK. I gotta protect my dad and my mom and the brand. What happens when, you know what I'm saying? Do you think that it's because you accepted that? Because what happens when a person be like, he a pastor, I got nothing to do with me. Like that ain't, that's his life. Like, he smoked crack. I don't have that. Don't make me a crackhead. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm just giving an example. You know what I'm saying? Like, so do you think that it's kind of only because you accepted the role, if you will, that makes it like, okay, I got to live like this because I accepted the role?
I believe that is a huge part of it. I don't believe it's the sole part, but I believe it's a huge part of it. And even, and not to get overly spiritual, but based on the conversation, I mean, I'm going to reference the Bible at some point, but
I mean,
the Bible, right?
I mean,
the Bible
we
speaks about the age of accountability.
Yep.
And so we have to make sure that that is the scope of this, of what it is, because there's an age that says that even legally at 18, the state considers you an adult.
Unfortunately,
you know what I'm saying? You can make your parents have no say.
Correct.
Unfortunately,
and then at 21, there's another legal.
Another
now you
level
can drink.
of
Now you can. Your license is turned a different way. So even naturally, there are levels to life. Right?
Can I stop it real quick?
Absolutely. Because I think you were going to do it anyway, whether I agreed.
No. So go right ahead. Just for a real, you're making a lot of good points. Let me help all the older cats to like young ladies. At a certain age, the ID turned a certain way. So
you asked to see an ID.
Just ask to see your ID,
and
fam.
it looks one way. You already know. That's all you need to know.
Hey, sweetie, can I see your ID real quick?
And she shows
That's
you.
it. And then
If
you
it's
ask
vertical-
further questions.
If it's vertical, I need you to keep on walking, brother
I
man.
just want to help somebody out. That's
please.
all. I just want to help somebody out. You
We don't
say
need no more cases.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is not. This
because
is
you
not
preaching.
them. This is
You
not
preaching.
them.
I want to help somebody
because
out.
At this point, I don't know what other Netflix documentary about to come out on who. At
Yeah.
this point.
So
Okay.
when in doubt, ask for the ID first, and then ask further leading
Listen,
questions.
and if you have a legal document, you know what a fake one just might look like.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's all. I'm trying to help because he preaching. No, but I think what you said though, a couple of things that were really, really, really dope. The fact that the idea that I gotta protect, in a sense, I gotta protect him. Your dad. I gotta protect him. I gotta protect my mama and how I live. So to hell really what y'all say, the people say, I'm doing this because I accepted the role of, man, I know Christ for myself. I accept him. And I want to make sure that my dad's image and my parents' image isn't tarnished. I think that's like so respectable and commendable because I
also think like even outside of being a PK, I think that same notion of
the body of
you're
Christ,
representing,
the
like,
body of Christ,
and then you're representing your parents, regardless of their status in church or out of like just your family name. Like you said, the brand, you're representing that, no matter what.
But I think that's
it is
that's
more
a great
of
point
a
too.
Spotlight put when it is.
Jesus is the
in
brand,
church.
bro.
Yeah. You know,
Christ is the brand.
Yeah.
How you living?
It's like, you know.
And the interesting thing is because a lot of people, I in my opinion, our opinion,
Hey.
I feel that it's
You ain't like my thing?
You was there.
What is it called? Ricochet or something? What is it called?
Huh?
Simple? And what's that called?
Yeah.
Did you say ricochet?
Hey, what is it called?
That's what?
What is it called? I don't know.
Okay.
You have a hi-hat, you have a snare, you know what?
I hate the cymbals. I don't know. I don't know. You don't like my cymbals? I don't know what it's called.
Y'all gonna make me forget
My son was a self-taught drummer. I didn't teach the nigga.
We can tell.
Oh,
I had nothing to do with that.
Right. But no, I was just. I think the overall stigma comes from. So I believe it's 1 Timothy where Paul is given instructions on leadership, right? So it talks about the position of a bishop, the position of an elder, that they should be blameless. They should be the husband of one wife. They should rear their children up in a way that is respectful. And so, but again, that's where that age of accountability comes into play because at some point that the bishop, the leader, the pastor, the elder, yes, should have his household in order first, right?
Yeah.
But again, that also once myself as I'm growing up and whoever else becomes an adult, then it is technically my responsibility to choose whether or not I choose to believe or I don't choose to believe and live this life.
It goes because I want to catch you. Just you making a great point, right? So it kind of I want to help people out too. It kind of also says too, leave the preacher alone. He ain't responsible for them kids. At a certain age when they make their own decision. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, why his children got to be blameless
and they always
and
make the point.
Like,
and it's like people always make it a point to point that out. Like, well, you know, her daddy a preacher and all this. And it's like, okay, and your daddy was a school teacher. So
I'm glad you, like? I literally just used those two examples, right? I was talking to a young lady before I before we came on today, and she was saying, I told her the topic or whatever. She was saying that a young lady, her job is a PK, and she was like, she's kind of like the most ratchetest one, and she's kind of the most. He's out there.
Outspoken.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be careful with words, right?
She's a free
and
spirit, I should
her
say.
response was
free agent.
Whichever one you choose.
Her response was, I would expect, the expect word is what tripped me up. I would expect her as a PK that she wouldn't be doing this, that, and the third. I said, let's say you were a school teacher. You taught at the school that your son taught at. Am I wrong for expecting him to be the smartest one in the classroom? This nigga got it down the hall pass. He could be in his room, go to his mama room and get all that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm wrong for that, right? I don't. Yeah. He his own person. Now I do, however, in a oxymoronic way, however, I don't expect, but I do believe. I would think like, nigga, how you feeling? You know what I'm saying? Like, out of all people, nigga, how you feeling? So I understand, like, as a PK, like the life is magnified, and then the church and the people, we expect certain things. That's not fair.
But that's not my walk. You can't.
However, unfortunately, I do think like not all niggas.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think
does that make sense?
And let me let me circle back. And again, my goal isn't to be redundant, but it's really to help people understand this point of view. The expectation in the Bible is for the leader.
I would say, yeah.
It is for the position of the pastor, the elder, the bishop. Mm-hmm. Those are the requirements for them. It is not the requirements for their children. And that's just in any, take away the PK part of it, right? That's say, your family, your grandma was in church, your mama was in church, your daddy was in church, and you decided, I want to be a Muslim. I want to be Jehovah's Witness.
I'm straight on that.
I'm just not going to come at all.
So it's no different in a sense of you getting that rooting
they call those
and that
heathens.
Grounding and choosing a different path. Right?
Yeah.
So that's, again, same as the PK. They can get that same rooting and grounding, but that doesn't mean that they're going to go on a different path. In addition, it does not mean they will not make mistakes either.
Yep.
So that's the one thing to understand is the Christian walk is a walk. It's a stride.
Yours is just unfortunately magnified. That's why I keep using that word, magnified.
It is.
It's unfortunately, more spotlights on you being the child of someone who holds a high position in church versus just the pew.
Because the deacon daughter, she could be whatever she wants.
But the thing is,
and nobody else care.
But see, and which is crazy because in that same chapter, Paul outlines the responsibility of a deacon as well.
Yeah.
And that responsibility is just as exactly.
But it all boils.
If you were preaching, but it doesn't get amplified the way that.
And the reason is because traditionally in denominations, in certain denominations, for an example, I happen to have this one best friend who grew up in Baptist churches. Mm-hmm. So,
multiple best friends is a real thing.
I have a female best friend and a best friend. Throw that out there. And so a few times when I visited, it was different to me to see how the deacons are the ones who really lead the service and oversee things in the church. Mm-hmm. And I think in other denominations, Kojic, Apostolic, other areas, that's not the case. Okay. And so I think depending on how you grew up, is magnified in a different light, the PK or the pastor role as the lead, the head, and then whether there's an assistant pastor, an associate pastor, and all these other things, and the deacon role. And I don't say it in a negative light, but it's minimized. Mm-hmm. In their eyes, they look at the deacon role as someone who has keys to the church, who has access to the church, who can open up, who takes the offering. Yep. But really, it's really more to it. It's a lot to it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we experienced it, years ago when, unfortunately, our pastor, passed very young. So it was like the chairman of the deacon board had to take on that role along with, the other entities within the church, but the responsibility fell first on him.
Right. And then in another denomination, you would have a pastor, an assistant pastor, an associate pastor,
and with our church, pastor. We never had our pastor who passed became like the associate pastor when his grandfather was still alive. Yeah. So then it was like once he passed, it was no one else.
Hey, it's crazy. You don't see that no more though. You don't see preachers bringing up preachers anymore. I remember growing up and you used to see a nigga sitting right next. Everywhere he went, he went. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
when he wasn't there, we didn't.
And, we do have those in place that, in the absence of our pastor that can come and deliver the word.
But I mean, like
without
grooming,
going
so to speak,
outside of the church. Yeah. But they're not.
They don't groom them anymore.
They're not in a position of, this is the associate pastor. Right. This is like it's not a title with it. It's just.
And then I think too, and I'm about to throw a curveball out there, is because as much as folks want to say, the PK should do this, and all this expectation, it's like, I'm sharing my parents with y'all.
So wait a minute. This is what I want to know. Stop reading my notes. First of
all, so really, like there's a whole lot I can say about that because I'm sorry. My parent had to miss my basketball senior night
because they had to go
because they had to intercede on behalf of your son who's in the hospital.
So what was that like though? Like in real life, I was driving there, right? I was going to go to that next point.
So say something else about how I'm supposed to be living.
Okay.
So, but what was that like?
Okay, I'm done.
What was that like?
That is true. That's true emotion right there. That's real.
But that was another question of mine though. Like, what was like literally sharing your parent? Like, dang, bro, like. Cause you
can say what you want to say. No, who gonna check you, boo?
And I got the mic.
Who gonna check you,
boo?
The
mic is right here.
Okay?
And I want to be careful how I pry too, right? But what was that like? Just like, that's not that serious. So I know for sure.
Right.
It's not that important, fam.
Right. So I think it came with levels. It came with levels of age. It came with levels of a lot of things. Because growing up in high school as a teenager, I will say there were very strong emotions about. So I played basketball, and our basketball games were on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Because our season was, back then, in the fall. Whereas now I think girls basketball is in the winter with boys.
Yep.
And so being freshmen in JV, they played, I think, like I said, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then varsity is the one who played on Friday.
Oh, okay.
So we had Bible study on Tuesdays.
You said that was automatic.
Yeah, so like more often than not,
you gotta make varsity. If you want your dad to come, I gotta make varsity.
But even when I did make varsity, the games were right, and so even when it was like 2 days, like Thursdays and Fridays or Wednesdays and Fridays. I don't remember, but I recall very often my dad. He's a pastor. He teaches Bible study, so there are very few games that he attended, right? Now, will I say he missed all of them? Absolutely not. Because if he could come,
he probably would have been at every single one of them.
Absolutely.
But again, understanding, as a teenager, it's the difference of understanding, like, well, why ain't he
My
here?
dad just doesn't want to be here versus...
And it was, right. And so I think it was a matter of, like, I just knew he wasn't going to be
right.
there.
So it was never expected that you...
Yeah. Now... If I sit in front of a therapist on a couch and they deep dive into that emotion, it could be very possible that I find myself exactly. But being transparent, it just became that thing. I was like, well, I know he's not coming. And then on Thursdays, that was his like office meeting time that he would do counseling and things of that nature.
Talk to him.
Exactly. You would make an appointment. You would go see him. And then we would have certain services on Thursday, like youth night and stuff. Now it's on Friday. And then on the flip side, my mom would come, but of course she would be in Bible study with the rest of my siblings. So oftentimes, like I recall, like growing up, going to a basketball game, like catching a ride with a neighbor home because nobody was there. They weren't there to pick me up, like at an away game or at a home game or something like that.
In a newfound respect way, that kind of sucks. And
sure.
I would think like, dang, I would have never thought that would be the life. Like, you would think
that's just like having like a father that drove trucks for a living, or and it's like 6 months out of the year, your father is literally on the road, never available. Yeah. And then when you do find him again, you only get him for like this real short window. Then they got to be right back. Yeah. So it's like,
that sucks.
You almost. leave, like, you almost take that off the table and put it in the back of your mind, like, because you already take the expectation away, like, I already know they're not going to be here. They can't be here. So I'm not even looking forward to you being here. But then when I do see you, it's like, oh, yeah, you know, like you light up inside because it's like, you got to be here. But then it's like you already put it in your mind. Like,
right. So it's like facing that reality. And one thing about me is, you know, I'm a realist. Like, I really look at situations in a factual manner. And I think even at a young age, I kind of saw myself. I think that's why I would get in trouble a lot because things didn't make sense. You're telling me to do this, but it don't make sense.
Yeah, so please explain to me exactly why you want me to do this before I do it. Because
I'm not trying to talk back. I'm just trying to get clarity on what you.
And I get that.
So I think again, like I don't recall ever feeling just like sad and crying and just boo-hooing over it. But then also in the same light,
that disappointment.
Kind of feeling that disappointment a little bit, but then also seeing like, oh, okay, so you've been a member for 15 years, but now all of a sudden this is happening and you want to go with the popular church and you just like dropping and leaving. Oh, okay, but then you see like, oh, but my parents have been there how many times? Okay, cool, no problem, go ahead. So again, it's levels to it because I can clearly recall, so there was a time frame where we left the organization we were a part of.
Okay.
And we have been part of this organization for as long as I knew. And so during that transition, and it's pretty, and it's something my dad has talked about, so it's not a secret, but pretty much the way the transition happened is my dad got a clear understanding about something that was technically tradition that they were deeming part of spirituality.
And it was like,
and it wasn't.
No. You won't put that on my Lord.
Half the time, tradition don't even be tradition.
Right.
It just be a nigga been doing it for so long.
Exactly.
We're gonna title it tradition.
Yep.
And he respectfully challenged them. He set meetings. He went to
because I need you
board.
to show me
exactly
where this is correct, and
exactly.
then I can move forward from there. But if you can't show me the proof of it being correct. I can't go with you.
And so we transitioned. We ended up leaving that organization and whatnot. And I literally watched people who I like was at my church my whole life. People I knew my parents my whole life, because to stay with this organization and their tradition turned against my father, said bad things against my father, called him different things.
Saying, they make up the lies when they got
it. He's not really saved.
You know your people.
Yeah, and so I watched that transition, and these are people who I know, like, even I've watched my parents like go on vacations with. Yeah. And like my dad
almost like an aunt and uncle type relationship. And it's like, wow.
So again, different stage of my life, 1920, maybe around that time frame. I'm like,
Now which number or child, because it's 80 y'all, so it's like you can only go from oldest to youngest. Middle, everybody's in the middle. Like
I'm number 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was an interesting transition in watching that happen and seeing another level of not necessarily just members included, but people who my parents have been there for, poured in, especially my dad, like, you know, preached and covered your church when you was out and this, that, and the other.
Came to see about you for
has
real.
Been diligent, a friend and everything. And now all of a sudden turned their back on him because he decided to take a stand for what the Bible actually says.
So has.
And transition. And now to this day, when I see those people, how's your dad doing? Call him and ask him.
So,
and if he doesn't pick up the phone, well.
I'm glad. Just let me know I'm asking good questions.
Because if you was there, you would know how he was.
Point, right?
Because if 20 years later, you still haven't reached out, like, it's not my responsibility to tell you how he is. Because if you really wanted to know,
keep you up to date.
Right. Because I knew you was part of the people who was sitting there conversating. Exactly. And you may not have said nothing, but you didn't defend.
And they said it in front of you.
Which is probably which is just as worse, if not even more worse. So, no, really. So has because you kind of get the inside scoop, right? Because you're kind of, and I put emphasis on PK because one, that's the topic, right? And then two, it's whether you want to admit it or not, it's a difference. The PK than just the average Joe Christian, right? But as a PK, has that made you more protective of your parents and your dad? Like, bro, sister, so and so, don't. Yeah. Listen, or has it made you trust people or have trust issue with people?
The first part, absolutely.
More protective?
Yeah, the second part, absolutely. I have trust issues with people. It ain't even issues. I just don't think people are as genuine as they tend to be. Yeah.
Because you have an inside scoop in the sense of you literally probably always literally in the church. Like growing up in just the actual it's a different world, and this is my opinion. Like just being in the church 24/7 all day, every day as a kid, like that's a different. That's a world within a world. I think
most of us experienced that, and we weren't PKs.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm talking about like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
No, but I didn't.
Every first and third Saturday.
I grew up like Sunday, that, but not like, but not like that. Like I grew up like that, but it was like
we did.
But I didn't grow up like I'm talking about. I know people that don't know nothing outside the church life. Yeah, like that's just
and for a long time. That was me,
and that makes it so difficult to. Not adjust to the world, but to, in my
experience
opinion, not even that. In my opinion,
if you don't,
it makes it hard. Not only just that though, but
yeah.
it makes it hard to receive it. Like, oh, that's why y'all. Oh, it's kind of like talking about something you never did before. Like, how can you talk about this and you ain't? You
can still have an opinion regarding it just because you never experienced it, but. But growing up in a church and then that's all you know and you've never been able to, spread your wings, so to speak, is what they say. It's like
so you're real,
but not just to experience. Like some people that grew up in a church probably have never even set foot inside just a bar. Like you don't even have to go to be drinking or anything, but just if somebody could throw a birthday party, you're friends with them, but it's at a bar, and you're like, I don't.
And you talk about all your friends,
or something like that. Like,
until
oh no,
you get that double shot of vodka, you be like, not so bad. I'm joking, but it's just an experience. Like I feel like it all boils down to one thing, man. As a believer and a part of the body of Christ. We all supposed to be living and acting a certain way anyways. Yeah. The rank of PK and regular pew member and the deacon's son, like
it's the societal pressure that people put and put emphasis on, being the preacher's kid. Like that, like she said, the Bible don't put no pinpoint on, if your father is a preacher, then
Have you ever got to a point, I know it's a weird question, right? But have you ever got to a point you was like, I don't really want this life. Like I'm straight. I'm not coming to church every Sunday.
Like
I'm not
decided that this is what you wanted to do.
You wanted to be the pastor. I don't want to be the pastor's daughter. Like I'm straight, bro.
So for clarity, your question is as far as deciding I want the life as a PK.
No,
just
not the life of just
the church.
Yeah, just the magnified glass of like, look, bro, I'm just a regular person.
Like, have you ever had?
So happen to have a daddy as a pastor. Like, I want to go get 9 tattoos. I want to wear my skirt right here. Like, relax. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I think, but and again,
because they say you ain't supposed to do that when you know what I'm saying, when you're the PK and all that.
Well, and again, it stems to kind of what we're all collectively saying is there's not a fine line between being a PK and being a believer. Yeah, exactly. And so, was there points in my life where my focus was not on God and focus on my walk in the church? Absolutely. I'd be sitting here lying. And even when I talk to my youth, I'm like, look, I ain't been saved. I've been in church maybe my whole life, but I haven't actively been trying to live this life, right? Yep. So yes, was there a moment where I was like, I'm going to work this Sunday. I'm going to work 3 Sundays in a row. Was it a time where I was hanging out with folks I probably shouldn't have been hanging out with? Absolutely. Being places I shouldn't have been? Absolutely. I'm not. I will not.
It's like you experience life,
right? I will not pretend that there's this halo over my head, right?
And so, Mother Teresa.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. And even in situations just with my family, like. Again, they have their own stories. My brother has shared his testimony with different people and things that transition with him. And again, that's his testimony to tell. But he went through something where people would have been like, "Oh, not the bishop's son.
Yeah, and that's so whack to me though, man.
He was an entire adult when he went through this.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right,
he was on his own. So I say that to say, yeah, was there a point in my life where, yeah, I was living a little raggedy? Absolutely. But I had to make the conscious decision that I wanted to do this. And there were things that got back to my dad, like, oh yeah, I saw your daughter walking through the casino. How you know? Because you was walking through the casino.
Right, exactly.
Like,
you brushed past
you told me, you darn near said praise the Lord in the casino. Like, why you greeting me? Just say what up though and keep it moving. And again, now context, again, hindsight is 50-50. Context, I was at a restaurant there. In all reality, I was truly at a restaurant. But it was the fact that they saw me in the casino.
It's like, well, I have to walk through this way to get to where I was going.
But even if I wasn't, though,
what does it matter?
Exactly. That was, I was an adult.
But we was in the same place.
Exactly.
That's the magnifying glass I'm talking about, though, that you don't belong here because you're associated to this. Mm-hmm. And which I think is kind of, it's whack in all aspects, not just a PK or in the church.
Yeah.
It's like I'm the teacher's pet because my mama a student. Niggas don't even work at this building. Like, no, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, like that kind of thing. Like the world, we put stipulations and magnifying glass on people and expectations that we don't even hold to ourselves.
Yep, I was about to say that.
I can borderline hear you if that's your regimen to your life. I'd be like, okay, I hear you, bro. Right. But it'd be like
I know for sure, like,
you don't.
Yeah.
And you talking about?
Yeah, no.
Because I would challenge somebody. I would challenge someone, no matter what age they are, even their adult life and their parents are still here. I would challenge them, put in the perspective of how you would feel if your parents, especially, again, my dad, because I would say my mom was she was more present and more hands-on, right? Because growing up, we had our mom at home. My mom did not work. My parents made the decision that my dad would support the family and she would be at home. So I grew up very hands-on with my mom. So when I say parents, I say that in more so with my dad, but my mom was also a part of that ministry, right? Yeah. But put yourself in the position to think and really process, what if you did not have your parents directly at your disposal whenever you needed them? Mm-hmm. Process that. Chew on that for a minute.
And knowing that they in somebody else's family face right now. Right. They in.
Yeah,
I need them here for me, and they over there praying with your mama.
Yeah,
or you know what I'm saying, at the hospital. Yeah. Like I couldn't imagine that, man. Like
but I really couldn't. But most people don't take the time to chew on that. Yeah, just stop and think. Like literally stop, think, and sit there for 5 minutes, be in silence, and think about that, and then try to ask me a question about being a PK.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say, baby, listen, these shoes, everybody can't walk in these shoes.
At the end of the day, like I was in a relationship in my adult life, and one of the struggles I had with this particular individual is he felt that, like, I'm very adamant about what God means in my life and church means in my life. I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm not saying anything, but that's a non-negotiable. That will always be in my life, right? Mm-hmm. So we ran into kind of a rock and a hard place because he's like, well, his point of view, not saying he's right or wrong, this is his point of view. He felt that, well, you're living this life and you make these things important because that's what you grew up, because of your parents, because that's what they want you to do. Sweetheart, every bill is in my name. Every last one of them. And have been for over a decade. Okay? So, and I say that to say that I make the decision for what I do for me. Yeah. This is the lifestyle
I'm choosing for myself.
Exactly. So if I decide to go to a place that's called a bar because I want a burger,
then I'm going to go. And I'm not going to feel like I can't go because...
Right. That's your conviction. That's not my conviction. Yeah. So don't project that. That's just like insecurity.
Because me and the Lord we have an understanding already.
Listen.
But I think
we cool.
So I think a couple things, all right? And we shine a light on PK because that's just a topic of conversation. Again, it boils down to the body of Christ and as a believer, right? I think the unfortunate part is it's stuff like this, the expectations and the magnifying glass, and you're not supposed to, and how dare you. We lose babes in Christ because of stuff like that. We lose babes in Christ just mean a newfound believer of
because they get shunned.
It's their first rodeo. They giving it a try. They interested in knowing Jesus because they done seen something, they done heard something.
Walking it out with them, like you're just bombarding them. Yeah. With like, oh no, you can't do this, that, and the third. And it's like, Now wait a minute.
Like, come on now. I think they're
just yesterday. You
like, come on now, bro. and I don't think as a believer, as a part of the body, I don't think there's ever room for tit for tat. I think there needs to be transparency and grace. There has to be a time where I say, I'm gonna leave dog alone today. I'm gonna let him sag his pants today. I'm just using something small. I'm gonna let him semi-cuss a little bit. That's what he been doing. He new here. He here though. And then there are times when they be like, hey fam, let me holler at you real quick.
Because it's a way that you correct someone without a judgment behind it or what am I trying to say? So it's like instead of like beating it into them, it's like there's a way to lovingly correct somebody to where then they're gonna want to do it on their own. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like because in their mind now it's like, oh no, it's like just something as simple as taking your hat off when you come into a building. Yeah. It's like something that has been taught to all gentlemen. Nah. When you enter a building, you take your hat off. But depending on if a nigga walk in with his hat, we're gonna be like, jump on him, like, fam. Instead of you explaining some, behind it or just something like that.
I think I'll let you go. I think that sometimes to use that example, like right, and again we use something small to paint a bigger picture. But to even use the hat example, I think there are times where it's just we don't say anything, but just hey man, do me a favor, take your hat off, bro. No explanation needed.
And that's what I said. Like when you lack an explanation,
he'll feel discomfort of just like, oh, this must not be. I must do something that's not normal. And then later on down the road, we'll come back and be like, hey man, here's why. That's like keep whooping your kid because they want to keep going to the front door, the screen door. Like instead of you saying, hey man, I don't want you to go out the screen door, somebody might snatch you. Might get hit by a car. You gonna keep whooping them?
Right. Don't go. Like if I tell you don't go on the street, why I can't go on the street?
Give me a reason.
Just don't go on the street. Yeah, why can't I go on the street? Why can't I? Yeah. But it's like I don't want you to go on the street because vehicles are in the street.
It has to be.
And if you get run over, you won't be here anymore. Yeah. And then how would you feel?
And that literally circles back to what we were saying earlier: is understanding that logical perspective, the why behind it. But I will say this, and I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna stand on what I say, but I'm gonna tread lightly. I do believe that both perspectives are correct. I also believe that we have become, and again, it's kind of like that divide between, and based on the conversation, this is why I'm gonna go here, based on the topic. It's that divide between the world and the church. Mm-hmm. And what we see is so much of the world's sensitivity pouring over into the church. Yep. Mm-hmm. And this hypersensitivity behind, you can't correct me, you can't judge me, you can't, God says you can't judge me. Actually,
no, it doesn't. God does say judge,
and he does
definitely.
He says judge righteously. And again, that's for the believer. If you're not a believer, cool, great.
Yeah, I can't go there with you.
That. So what I'm finding and what I'm seeing is that the church has become so lax. So yes, grace is there and grace is important, but there's so much grace being taught that it's not actually being taught the way you're supposed to walk, the way you're supposed to live. So that's one part. The second part is that I truly believe that sometimes the reason why they don't see what they're supposed to do because they don't see us doing it. They don't see nobody doing it.
They don't have an example.
If I walk into a room and and I come in like, oh, hey, what up, though? Okay, consciously, I'm looking at my surroundings and understanding.
You said, read the room.
This ain't that kind of party.
Yeah.
So if a brother walks in and 4 brothers walk in before him and he see every one of them take his hat on, guess what? I guarantee you
he's going to follow suit. He's going to follow
80%
suit.
He's going to follow suit. So what example and what standard are we setting for those new believers coming in?
But I like something you said, though.
You gonna okay? I was talking good, but I'm gonna let him go.
I have to because I got to.
Let her cook.
I have to, but here's why though.
I have to.
I have to. Here's why I have to though.
Go ahead, friend.
Because you said something though, right? I'm tired of y'all, man. I have to because you said something.
No, this is a great episode. Because usually it be them. They be coming. They be really coming for me.
I think it's important as a believer. Like to your example of like if you walk into the room and everybody's whispering, you walk in loud. I think sometimes the believer says, well, let me adjust and start whispering, as opposed to saying, you know what? I don't belong in this room all the way around. I think we get captivated by how can I adjust and fit in, when in reality, you ain't supposed to fit in some rooms, in some spaces, in certain situations. And I think that as a believer, we say, how much can I get away with?
How far can I go
and still be safe?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, nigga. Like, just don't. No teeter. If that makes sense to you.
I don't disagree with your point, but I think again it stems back to let me go back. Topic of conversation, the Bible. We're called to be salt, light, and be set apart. Mm-hmm. And so to your point, yes, there are some rooms that we don't belong, but the rooms that we are in, we should be salt, we should be light, and we should be set apart. And so I think it's twofold. I don't think it's one way or the other. I think it's twofold. And again, you just have to be mindful again of where you are. I can be at that birthday party and order my burger and fries and be all right.
Yeah.
And everybody else is drinking, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe the part of me being the lightest, I'm not, and somebody who is sees that, and I'm not making an announcement saying I'm not drinking because I love the Lord.
Okay, that is not like
right. Yeah, but I'm being
that's
that
a great
light,
point, though.
You know,
I could be the light without having to voice that. That's a great point.
But I mean, they say by your walk.
And then it's also, but in twofold, don't let your good be evil spoken of. Yep. And so, Shay, though you're having your birthday at the bar, and I can go and have my burger and fries. Hey, Shay, you know what? Can we pull up on Friday? Mm-hmm. I know you're doing your thing Saturday, but can we pull up on Friday? So it's using that wisdom.
I want to avoid the appearance of certain things.
Exactly.
I don't need certain things. Yeah. I don't need to be. And I'm using an example because it was a real scenario, and I'm not saying this is the case in your situation. Yeah. I'm just using it now as an example.
Thank you for the disclaimer.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's important.
Okay, because people will take a little clip and they be like, well, listen, she said she was here.
It's a good example for my point. Maybe I ain't finna go on no Saturday to this restaurant at this casino on a Saturday. Because everybody and their mama gonna be there. So I'm gonna sit. This is my favorite restaurant on a Wednesday.
Tuesday afternoon
when nobody, I'm gonna sit this one out. And it's not because I want to protect me, and I don't want to give people no ammo to even.
It's nothing wrong.
You know what I'm saying?
There's nothing wrong.
And I think that we call that people, right? Yeah. Black folks, we call that being fake. I call it being me in moderation.
It's just being
I be a shell of me, man. Like, hey, man. First of all, you don't deserve this part of me here, because the barbershop get a side of me that you may never ever see.
Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that I'm faking who I am.
It's just I'm all of those people.
You're not privy to every part of me.
Yes.
So,
and we talked about that earlier too. We said, like, we were talking about, pre-show. You saw a different. How long have I literally? First of all, we've been best friends for about a decade, and I've probably known you about. What, probably 3-4 years before that?
Almost 15 years.
About 15 years.
In a whole time.
Yeah, I was telling her.
And you still saw that many years later a different version of me based on the space that I was in. That you didn't see.
I make y'all privy to the conversation. We did a show together, acting, right?
I mean, that was our conversation.
It's important to talk to my people.
No, go ahead. We're going to bring them in. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. We're going to bring y'all in.
I think this is
the eliminator's gone. You got to re-up. So.
No, I think this is healthy. Because one, it says no matter how long I've known you.
Hey, you know what else also said? What? You just said healthy, fully through without the list.
I don't. I'm so tired.
Yes, you are growing.
Should have let her have her share.
Did you hear it?
No, but I think I'm not gonna say nothing. I think it's a good conversation now. To no matter how long I've known you, there may be spaces where I get to identify and meet a new version of you. Correct. So we did a show together, acting, right? And I've never been in this room, in this space with her. So for me, and I was literally the new guy to the crew. I got on board kind of late, but got the role, whatever. And so for me, I'm the new guy. I'm back there. I'm like, I'm finna be back there talking to my best friend. We about to be kicking it. She walking by me like she don't know me. And I'm like... Not like that, but like
she was in
but
acting.
But we're not talking. We're not. Let's say we spent 8 hours there. We talked maybe 2 or 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like and for me it was like, you okay? What's wrong? And then I also seen spaces where I know her and I know that chair is beautifully clean. I don't know who cleaned that chair. That's really clean.
Probably all them fresh cleaning may have
thought that out there. That's
no,
really nice.
Maybe. I don't know.
I seen where I'm like, oh, they getting on her nerves. Let me go check on her. And she like, and she didn't say this, but this is what I got. Nigga, I'm okay. Stop asking me that. I'm fine. But it was like, I didn't I didn't know her in this space of remembering her lines, changing outfits, scene changes,
handling the business,
gotta eat something, handling the business,
like sure everybody's straight and making.
What's my point of all of that?
Oh,
right?
You had a whole role in this. Like you had more than just a speaking part.
I had 4 lines. She had 38. You know what I'm saying?
Edited the script. You know.
Yeah.
I was calling cues for people, because I was helping the director.
So in other words, you were interrupting her.
So, but you
were doing it in a loving way, not realizing that you checking on her in the house versus checking on her in production is like.
But she was being herself. Just a version that I wasn't.
Yeah, she was in director, actress mode.
But to that point is,
and I could have been like, man, she acting fake, bro. Man, this my man.
I was just about to say.
Now we get on show together. Like I could have did that, but I think I ended up pulling her to the side and bringing it up to her, and she was like, no,
it's like no, I'm just in.
I literally shut everybody out.
Yeah, my mind is here because this is what I'm focused on. So everything else is like, if it ain't important about this right now.
Right. But if he was, and allow me to say it this way, a weak-minded individual, that could have ruined our friendship. Right? Like, he could have walked away and said, "Oh, she being fake, and she this. Oh, she a 5-letter word that start with a B and end with an H." You know what I'm saying? With asterisks in between.
Oh, but batch. Like a batch of cookies?
Like a batch of cookies?
That's what I thought. That's yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's
but it could have been that, though.
For
you
real.
know what I'm saying? And again, kind of circling back to the topic of the conversation is that just because you see me in a
voice
space,
for everybody.
Exactly.
Voice for.
Listen, I'm gonna be a regular stand-in. So go on more vacations, baby D's. Oh man, I lost my train of thought.
But
full circle moment.
Yeah, so going full
just
circle
because people
is that,
see you.
Correct. There's different versions of myself, and these things come in stages.
Yep.
If you had to see me, the very first play I did in 2010, you wouldn't have saw that version of me.
Yeah.
So no different than me being a PK or being a believer and living a life. There's stages and versions into this, into life in general. Mm-hmm. It's no way that you should expect me to be the person I was
when I was 12, 18.
That's what I'm saying, right?
25 and 30.
Correct.
I think not.
But
right. If there is no growth, then that's the bigger problem there.
And if my choice to be more spiritually focused offends you or offsets you,
got bigger.
That's
problems.
Something exactly,
and that's a you problem.
Exactly,
that's
exactly.
You.
But because I think that's the world we live in.
Not be offensive to anyone.
And I think I experienced that, but it wasn't. It wasn't in the church, but it was. I decided that the way I spent my weeks and weekends, I no longer wanted to, and so because I pulled back, there was a moment where it was like, "Oh, you done switched up on us. You done changed." It's just like, no, I'm over.
No, it's yes,
but it's just like
I did.
I'm not switching up on y'all in a sense of. I'm looking down on you. Yeah. My life is just in a different place now. And I'm choosing to step away from what I know is not leading me to anything positive.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's okay that that's what you chose to continue to do until you reach that point to where you was like, oh, now I'm in the space to where I'm removing myself. So it's like, so friendships were tested because that happened.
Yeah. But let me say this, though. I think, and before we close, I'll say this, right? I think I'll put it in this perspective. If you're a person that think that when people change, they acting fake and you don't want to be friends no more, go travel the world. Go anywhere. I don't care where you go. Chicago, New York, Bahamas. Travel anywhere outside of Detroit and then come back to Detroit. You're going to be like, man, there's so much more out there, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that people don't apply that to their life and their growth? Like, it's so much more out there than chilling on the block, bro. It's so much more out there than just
going to the club every night.
It's so much more. You know what I'm saying? Like, go travel the world, go somewhere else, and then come back home to Detroit. And then I want you to deal with people differently. I know that's a weird way to put it. But go do that and then come back and deal with people differently.
And then too, like, because me being in my 30s, my outlook is different, right? My outlook is I could spend $100 getting food and drinks on a weekend, or I can put that $100 towards my next cruise that I'm about to take.
Okay.
Or I can put that $100 towards my business that I'm trying to grow. Or I can put that $100 into my child or nieces or nephews or godchild's college fund.
Yeah, God kids, you know what I'm God's saying? Kids, child.
It's just your priorities change as you know.
And I will say this,
mature, but if
not to prolong that part, but I'll chime this in. A healthy friendship and a mature mindset will say, "Hey, I'm pulling you aside. I do notice a change. I'm recognizing there is a change." Like B does. Let me make sure you're okay. You good?
Right.
And then two, tell me more about it so I know how to maneuver. Where's your mindset? So that way I know. So again,
what role do I play in this change?
Right.
And how can I adjust, be a part, not fall off, not pull you off? How can I be?
How can I enhance?
Where
the change that you're trying, and then
where do I fit in?
How can I also get on this
board?
Train? You know,
because it might not be for me. Like, so for the sake of time, right? Because I want to thank you first of all.
Wait, we still laughing.
I'm so tired of this. I deal with this on a regular basis.
Yes.
Right? With this one.
Yes, this was
I want to do I want to do a disclaimer though, because I have to do that because I know people. We are not bashing the church. We're not picking on. If anything, we're giving the PK a voice for the people, the outside world, the pew member, to kind of just hear the voice of a PK, the pressures, the lifestyle, the expectation. I just wanted to say that because I just think that's important to say that. Just give a disclaimer. And then those things that we kind of talked about in the church that we were privy to because we grew up in the church, we're not bashing. Just real life facts and experiences that we have. Mm-hmm. So find you a church home,
observation of what
and leave us alone.
Goes on, what doesn't go on.
Yeah, because I ain't been saved that long. So if you catch me in aisle 6 at Walmart, I'm with all the smoke. Praise the Lord. So,
in Jesus' name, you know they put in Jesus' name behind everything. If you say they put in Jesus' name, they be like,
it's good.
Oh, you know Jesus? Okay, you know. Maybe not, but okay.
But also, we like to thank you for being transparent, for being open. Hopefully, maybe it helped you to just get something off and hear something in a different perspective. If not, maybe it just helps you just get something off your chest and give people a different insight. So. Definitely appreciate you, man.
Absolutely appreciate it. Yeah. And I do want to say something because today is my brother's birthday. So I do want to say happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Woo-hoo.
Who?
Yes.
Yeah, happy birthday. Giving out flowers.
Today is my brother's birthday. So
we'll end on this question. Happy birthday, my guy. We'll end on this question. Is it exactly or exactly? I hear people on my job all the time be like, exactly. I'll be like.
So this is going to help you out. How is it spelled?
I don't know, nigga. It's with E, ain't it?
I believe it starts with an E.
Yeah.
So E-X
I just want to know.
A-C-T. Exactly.
I know that, but I don't pick a fight with people. I'm like, maybe they know something I don't know. If 9 people saying exactly, maybe all
that's
9 of them done.
Ask a question or ask one.
No, the person who's saying exactly is the person whose parent was a teacher, but clearly they
wasn't teaching at home.
We expect more out of you.
Bring that thing back around.
Out of all people,
they made their own decisions not to
learn. My point exactly. I'm like,
exactly.
What is exactly?
Yeah. And if you really exactly,
I know that even a nigga with a speech impediment knows that. I just figure I bring it to the table.
Yeah.
I figure we'll close out on that. I am voice 1.
I'm voice 3.
Easy.
Voice 4.
You're not the first guest up there, man.